Grab your cocktail and get ready for this episode of the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast.
Welcome to the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old fashioned. I'm Brian.
I'm Dave.
Men, it's that time of year that we are talking about Grand Lodge bylaw proposals. And as you saw from the thumbnail, yes, there's a proposal about some little bang-bangs in Kansas, and we're going to get to that. But before I get there, last month I went to the annual communication of the Grand Lodge of Texas. If you've not been to that communication, first of all, that building is amazing. I think there are definitely over 2,000 members in their auditorium, in their building. Amazing. The hospitality is amazing. They did a pub crawl after the Thursday meetings. They did a private concert after the Friday session, welcoming to everyone. My wife went with me, just had an unbelievable time, and Dave and I were talking about it off camera, and he's like, "Well, how was the fraternal bond? Was it different?" And I felt it was different, but we asked my wife, and I think she felt it was. Would we use the word better? Maybe
she didn't say there's a world of difference.
Right.
She did say, here is welcome, but she did feel that there was a marginal difference. And I spent some time in Houston. I lived there for 4 years before I was a Mason, though.
Yeah.
And so maybe I need to make that trip back there as a fraternity.
Yeah. So shout out to the Texas brothers who do a great job, and they have this cool sweatshirt back to annual communication, and whatever gets the guys hyped to go to Grand Lodge. And again, you guys do a great job. But let's talk what's going on in the state of Kansas. So our annual communication is coming up here in March of 2025, and we have our bylaw proposals, not the over 20 that they had in Texas. Holy moly. So we're gonna kind of go through our proposals here high level. So as we're talking about them, you're going to see them up on the screen. And so we'll kind of bounce through. So we're going to go through the first proposal, and it's called Proposal 1A. And I'll read this. This is interesting because we have several A's and B's and even a C. These two proposals will be cumulative, each standing on its own, but if both pass, they will collectively change the bylaw. It's kind of interesting. So this particular one, Proposal 1A, it's Article 6, Grand Lodge Officers and Committees. So basically what they're doing here, you'll see it up on the screen, they're basically striking out the junior warden, Grand Junior Warden, and adding another sentence that says, this is election in terms, the Grand Junior Warden shall be elected from those who shall have filed for candidacy with the office of the Grand Secretary in the same manner of proposals that changes to this constitution or bylaws of the Grand Lodge's register. So this sounds a lot like what our boys in Texas do. So in Texas, Texans take a nap, you know what you do. They make themselves available, right? So in Kansas, what we have done historically, the Deputy Grand Master kind of picks the person that's coming in and we vote on. There's always an election, but in my time of Masonry, I've never seen a runoff. So basically, what's being proposed here by past Master Wayne Drake of Great Bend Lodge number 15 is that he would like to see and I'll use this rationality. The change which has been adopted by many Grand Lodges would make Freemasonry in this jurisdiction more democratic and allow for membership to have more input into the course of the future of the craft. It would allow candidates to register for elections some months before annual communication. So that's the 1A. So let's kind of talk about the 1B and where the difference is. A little bit different here. So the last sentence I read, there's a couple of more sentences. So they'll make themselves elect. Here's the interesting thing here. Here's the change. The Grand Junior Warden shall be elected from those who shall have either filed for candidacy with the office of the Grand Secretary in the same manner as the proposals for changes in this constitution or bylaws, or who have presented a petition for candidacy signed by at least 2% of consensus of active Master Mason at the last published capitalization of sentence by the Grand Lodge of the desk. Holy moly, there's a lot going on. I'm a fan of, just because there's a lot of words in 1B, and I'm a simpleton, I like 1A of the two. I do like the democratic process. However, in Kansas, overall, we've done a great job. The leadership in Kansas, since I've been a Mason, it's something that personally I've been proud of. I think our Council of Administration does a great job. I think the vetting process, I don't feel like it's a good old boy system in Kansas. Mm-hmm. I feel like the leaders that have been in place are somebody that overall I'm proud that they represent our state. So those are those two proposals here. Let's get into one that's a little salty, shall we? We're going to get right into it. Proposal 2, kind of like the Second Amendment. I said what I said. This is a brand new law. So I'm going to put it up on the screen. So this will be a proposal 1-112, Association with Firearms. Effective January 1, this is all new. Effective January 1, 2026, no chartered Masonic lodge, recognized, not you clandies, Masonic order, Masonic club, concordant body, appendant body, Masonic youth order, or affiliated charitable trust/foundation within the jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge of Kansas, AF and AM, may promote, raffle, sell, or gift any assault style or military type firearm. For the purposes of this restriction, assault style weapons are defined as semi-automatic firearms with military style features such as detachable, you see them squirming over here, magazines, pistol grips, flash suppressors, or folding stocks. Military weapons refer to any firearm originally designed for military use or modeled after a firearm used by the military, including but not limited to fully automatic firearms, machine guns, or firearms capable of accepting high-capacity magazines. So I'm going to read this rationale. This was submitted by our past Grand Master, Tony Bourne. He's a past master of Parker Lodge, number 341. So I'm going to read his rationale because this will probably be the one that we'll have the most comments on, and arguably will be the one that probably brings a majority of the new people to Grand Lodge this year to vote. And, that's the great, there's not a lot of democracy in Freemasonry, right? It's kind of the master that bangs the gavels in. I love, you don't have to agree with proposals that come. I love that we have this ability to get out there and talk in front of everyone. And after, this is going to be a hot topic. In the state that we're in, this is going to be a very hot topic. But what I love about it, after it goes whatever direction it goes, we're going to be able to go up and give Most Forceful Tony a handshake and or a hug and say, hey, it passed or it failed, but you know what? We still love you, right? And that's the great thing about the fraternity. So let me tell you this rationale. Rationale. The impact of mass shootings goes far beyond the immediate loss of life and injuries. They traumatize entire communities. As Freemasons, we must take a stand by discontinuing the promotion, raffling, and auctioning of military-style weapons, which have been used to harm innocent children and community members. If one of these weapons, raffled or auctioned under our name, is stolen, sold, or misused in an act of violence in our schools, places of worship, or workplaces, it could inevitably be traced back to Kansas Freemasons, holding all of us accountable. Remember this. We cannot claim to be concerned with the well-being and safety for our communities while simultaneously distributing these weapons. Our role as Freemasons is to uphold moral principles and take meaningful actions in support of them. While we recognize and respect the right to own firearms, including these types of weapons, we cannot ignore the growing trauma and fear within our communities, especially for our children, caused by unstable individuals gaining easy access to military-style firearms. As leaders in our communities, it is our responsibility to act in alignment with our values and show leadership by discontinuing the distribution of these weapons. Respectfully, Brother Anthony W. Bourne, Past Master, Parker Lodge number 341. So as you see in the disclaimer before any of this starts, we are speaking for ourselves, not for our lodge, Grand Lodge, any other jurisdiction. So do you want to start or do you want me to start? I just read a lot. I need a little drink.
I mean, I'll just make a quick comment.
Oh, yeah.
Just when I read this, I mean, I had to double check the email that I was reading to make sure that this was the Grand Lodge proposals. It just strikes me as incredibly political in a venue where we strive to not have politics. And I'm very curious how the debate for this can go in Grand Lodge without diving too heavily into politics that shouldn't be.
So for non-Masons, when we're at our Grand Lodge, it's a tiled or closed session. And everyone that knows Masons, we don't talk politics or religion in a tiled session, right? So I think Dave's point is once we're in a tiled session, somebody with this gavel is going to be ready to go, right? Because in Kansas, you have 3 pros that get to talk, 3 cons, right? So the proponent, most forceful Tony, will come up first. He'll get 90 seconds. Then 90-second opponent, 90-second proponent, boom, 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 right? So I can see that this is going to be a passionate one. And the great thing, I think we had a previous episode before, when something's controversial, I think you made the comment, if something's controversial, that means there's a compelling argument for either side. And I think you're the one that said that on an episode. Yeah. Absolutely love it because this is going to be compelling. This is going to be compelling. So continue your thought. How do we keep this? We can talk politics all we want on this channel. We can do what we want. Yeah,
honestly, it's a tough one. It is very difficult to get into this without politics, other than using maybe like the definitions that he puts into his proposal.
Right.
That is something that I think object to without diving into politics itself. But yeah, it'll be a very tight line to not cross. And I know you made some notes on it. I'm curious to see what thoughts you had. But that was mine. I mean, he makes a definition of assault rifle in there that I think is a simple Google search away from discovering that is not accurate.
Well, let's just go to this.
Yeah.
Originally, a firearm originally designed for military use or modeled after a firearm used by the military. Let's just use that. So that means no muskets, boys. That means no muskets. I'm a little pissed. We can't auction off a cannonball now. I'm a little upset about that.
I have no idea what I'm going to use for that used F-16 in my backyard.
There you go. So we're having fun with this, right? But there's some broad. So when you kind of go to the AR style military assault rifles, that's fine. But then you kind of open yourself here. But let's just talk about a few. There's some. Now, let me give a concession to most forceful. I would hate how we handle our raffles in. I'm going to speak for Kansas. Our FFL guys and our guys that kind of manage these and run them, they do not mess around. One, they don't want to lose their livelihood. This isn't some pawnbrokers and Pookie and Ray Ray out passing guns across. They're going to have to go to an FFL, pass a background check. We're not messing around here. So our guys are legit. However, it would also, to most forceful Tony, it would be awful if auctioning and went and something terrible happened, right?
Devastating.
I mean, yeah. And so forget the politics. Oh, Byrd, it wasn't a gun. It's not. Listen, that would be awful. We can all agree on that. So let's talk about some things.
I think real quick too, we can agree that intentions are in the right place.
Yeah,
right.
I
do want to say that because most forceful is a great guy.
Yeah, he's a great human.
And I believe that his intentions are in the best interests of children in the community, all the things that he does say in there, right? And so I don't want to lose sight of that. I don't think this is again, I'm towing the line. I don't want to say things that are over the top, but I don't think this is him
Leave that to me.
being ostensibly anti-gun or those. I do believe his intentions are about the community and the children, as he very eloquently said. So I'll leave. I just wanted to make that point that we both agree that he's a great guy, and we don't disagree with him on those types of principles.
Yeah, for sure. So let's. I like to use stats and data when anytime that there is. This is going to incite a lot of emotion. Right. Mm-hmm. So when emotion's there, I like to combat emotion with data. Right. It's hard to get emotional about numbers. Right. Mm-hmm. So there's a few things. I'm going to kind of go here. There's a thing called the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. You'll see it across the screen, the PLCAA. This was enacted in 2005. It protects firearm manufacturers and sellers from being held liable for crimes against individuals using their product. So right off the bat, that's gone. They can't come back and smoke us. It's not now in the court of public opinion we can have problems. So that right off the bat, that's done. In addition, according to Congressional Research Service, the CRS, this law has consistently shielded gun dealers, sellers, manufacturers from lawsuits unless for specific exceptions, knowingly or violating federal gun law during a sale. Mm-hmm. Our guys don't do that, right? So basically, in legal terms, we're going to insure you except there's gross negligence. There's no gross negligence. And again, this source is from the Congressional Research Service report on the PLCAA. There are also a couple of case studies I want to let you know. There's two 2019 lawsuits. One was Soto versus Bushmaster, and one was Prescott versus Slide Fire Solutions. Both the Bushmaster one was the Sandy Hook, right? And yes, it really happened. So for the guys, we don't sue us. The lawsuit was brought against the firearm manufacturer, but not the sellers, right? And so the manufacturer got protection there. Also, the Slide Fire Solutions, that was for a manufacturer and seller. Both of those, that was for the Las Vegas shooting. Both of those were dismissed. The PLCAA barred those claims. I'm going to throw a couple of other things out here. From the Harvard Law Review, I don't know, it's Harvard, whatever. They examined the PLCAA and its efficacy in preventing the liability in firearms, and it emphasizes that successful lawsuits against gun dealers, unless there's third-party misuse, it's going to be really, really tough.
If I can interject real quick, part of the reason behind that law was not to prevent people from being successfully sued, but also to prevent them from being constantly in court draining their funds, defending themselves against those lawsuits. Yep.
So, you have to look at, if I'm looking at this from a risk management standpoint as well. So got some notes here on that. So the concerns about the liability in a raffled firearm, it's later misused, right? Legally, once the firearm is transferred under the FFL process, the responsibilities lie within the new owners. Again, it doesn't negate we would hate that something suffered, but I want to kind of go back to what was said, and bear with me because I'm sure I've got my stuff everywhere. It says assault style weapons, foundation for the purpose of the restriction. So the rationale, promoting schools inevitably could be traced back to Kansas Masons holding us all accountable. So there's case law against that already. The way we handle it, I would now. I know the guys that kind of run this, and they do a great job. But if I were Grand Master or on the council administration, I would want to have them come in and reassure me as I'm responsible. And in fact, I would have them come in front of maybe Grand Lodge and say, "Hey, this is how we're handling it. Most forceful Tony brought this bylaw up. I'm glad he did. Let me put your concerns at rest." Right, and I think it's a really good opportunity to have discussion on this. My guess is This is not going to pass. That's my guess. I've got some opinions, but I think it sparks an interesting conversations. But I believe, me only, the rationale in here is quickly refuted by some case study, the PLCAA protection. Again, it would still be awful. So do we have to dig in any more on that?
I mean, I don't really think so. I also made a note about the accountability subject, but also just the fact that there's one specific raffle that I know, or I believe he's referring to, but really we've got a couple of them going on now. It's a big revenue generator for our lodge and Kansas Masonry in general. And I don't want to dismiss any type of concerns about community safety and
Exactly
those types of things. I don't want to get into that, but I do think it's still worth noting that we do these revenue generating events because we need the revenue. And we've discussed ad nauseum on your show about how Masonry is hurting for the money.
Right.
And for us to take away the most popular style firearm in America, take that away from the raffles that we do, I don't know how that would impact that event. Or there's one major event that I'm thinking of that you know of, and then there's another one. I don't know how that would impact it.
Yeah,
because it is so popular, and and they're popular for a reason. I don't know. Do you want to get into that? Maybe that's a subject.
Yeah, maybe that's another one. Yeah. But so let me throw one more counter to this. We don't want to sacrifice money for community impact. That's not our thing. Right. But let me throw one more weird deal with kind of a weird rationale. We do a massive car raffle in Kansas. Massive. You could make the argument that we get somebody won the raffle of the car and they drive it through a crowd at a Super Bowl event and kill somebody. That would be awful as well. Yep. You could argue when we do black water raffles, brown water raffles for drinks, that somebody drinks behind the wheel. And, so there's all of these things. At least on the firearm side, when there's lots of protection, we handle that correctly. Right. So love your most worst for Tony. I think that's going kaput. So this is my words, nobody else's. So now we're into bylaw proposal. Did 118, 2, okay, 3, 4. These are Committee on Youth Public Schools. This is basically a cleanup, as you'll see there. Basically, they're Derek Hockett's taking out, changing some words around instead of total youth and education, called the public school committees. Pretty good cleanup, pretty easy. So proposal 5. We've got a 5A, 5B. Shit, we got a lot going on. And then, oh my gosh, there's so many pages here. I'm not going to. 5C. Okay, 5C. So these are all pertaining to per capita changes, basically. So these 3 proposals were on cumulative, each standing on its own, but passed, they were all collectively. So 5A, we're going to change the per capita from 35 to 40, and 4 of those dollars, $1 each, will go to the Masonic Youth Orders, DMLA, Rainbow, Job's Daughter. The other will go to the George Washington Foundation. Okay? B, boy, that's a quick summary.
Well done.
B, it takes it from, instead of 35 to 40, 35 to 39. Annoying. It should be a round number, but that's fine. $4 of that. So that $4, that's going to go to help offset annual communication. So personally, I don't like that. Raise your annual, raise the fee to go to Grand Lodge. So, if it's, I don't even know what it is. I don't have to pay anymore. I got some silly metal. So if it's, if it's $30, make it 40, and instead of green beans, go to asparagus, upgrade it. Right. So that's for that. I'm not a fan of that. At least I'd like to see the money going. I wouldn't want the whole $4 going to that. I'd like for it something that spreads out through the whole year, just speaking only for me. That's still the same rationale. Sorry. 5C. This will take it 34. Oh, this is interesting. Let me tell you why I like this. Dave's not read all these as much as I have, so bear with me. So the $35 of the per capita. So right now, every lodge working under the warrant of the Constitution shall pay to the Grand Lodge per capita of $35 a year. And then they're adding for each EA, Fellowcraft, Master Mason on their rolls as of December 31st. Okay? So here's the rationale. Wayne Proctor, past master of Wyandotte Lodge number 3. I'm kind of down with this. Let me tell you why. So here's rationale. When a man becomes an EA, he's entered into his lodge on Book of Records. He's carried on the records even after he passes. A man becomes an EA or Fellowcraft for the rest of their life. They can claim to be a Mason. They may not know what a Mason is, They may never communicate to anything. As far as the record's concerned, they're in good standing, never paying dues. Tell they're a Master Mason here, right? Never paying dues and never contributing. When they die, they can be given a Masonic funeral at this time. So basically what he's saying, and we see this a lot, probably more than we should. Once you become an EA, you're not paying per capita on those guys till they're Master Mason. So I look at it, it'd be interesting. I like it because it gets the lodges to get the button gear to get these guys their degree. Now, somebody's going to make the argument like, oh, there we go. We're just going to have a mill. You're going to be pressing them through. Boys, your lodge is going to do that. They're going to do it anyway, right? But it might get some extra courtesy work done. Somebody may say, well, I'm in insert lodge here, and we don't have the guys to do it. Okay, well, call insert lodge here. Our crew would be happy to come in and help you out. That's what we do as brothers. Call us, and we're there, right? I think that this would help people get through and maybe take them through the process and forget the creating more Master Masons. There's a revenue aspect of it as well, but just having these guys sit on books, Pike had a lot of those.
Yeah.
Guys that come in and they don't finish for a variety of reasons, right? But at least it will make guys follow up on them. They'll just say, oh yeah, we got old Earl. He's been an EA for 3 years. When's the last time somebody called him? Oh man, I don't know.
Right.
Well, we're paying for him. You better call him. So Wayne, I'm kind of a fan of it.
Yeah, honestly, I think this is a no-brainer. I think this is a great way to go because, so I have a very close friend that I brought in, got his second degree, and just decided it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
Right? And so, he's still on the books, even though he's made a decision, right? I guess he could come in and officially demit or whatever you do at that level. I don't know that I've ever run into that before, but he's still on the books, and he has no intention of coming back. And I don't judge him for that. He made the right decision for him.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, that's just one example, one microcosm of what this issue can be. But on the other side of that, I agree with everything you said. It does give us an avenue to encourage those brothers or encourage those lodges to entice those brothers to get back in and get that finished.
Here's going to be a counter. We love the proposal. Here's the counter. All right, so you mean to tell me my guy got his EA on December 15th and 16 days later I got to pay for him? Yep. You know how you fix that? Why don't you just raise the initiation fee? Make them cover it.
Pay for it, yeah.
Right? So, or it's initiation fee plus $35. Nobody knows the difference coming in. And if the barrier to entry of an additional $35 prevents a brother from wanting to join Masonry, it's not right for him anyway right now.
Right.
Because that's less than $3 a month. I'm not a math guy, but I'm pretty close there. Less than $3 a month. And if you're $3 tight a month, we're here for you later.
Yeah.
Don't do it to them now.
It's all about life choices and coming at the right moments. And in part of our investigation, we want to make sure that not that a brother is wealthy, but the brother isn't hurt his family by paying his dues.
Right, yeah. Never, and we all know that never do we put Masonry above our family vocation. No, we just don't do that. So we got to start them off right. But if it were me to counteract that, if you're just worried about that straddling over in a year, I'd change my initiation fee to insert plus $35. But make it a round number, make it 50. Don't be silly. Proposal 6. This is presented by past Grand Master Tracy Bloom, our current Grand Secretary. All he's wanting to do here on the Grand Seal is also have an electronic version of the Grand Seal. You know what? Tracy, you do a lot for us. I'm all about you, so whatever you need, I think we should do it. That should be also a no-brainer. If that has an opponent of that, I want to know who it is. I want to interview on the podcast. I want to know why. Proposal 7. Time of stated communication, as you'll see up on the screen, there's just a word added. It's also from Tracy Bloom. Notwithstanding any affinity or occasional lodges, seems pretty basic. It's housekeeping. Seems like a no-brainer. Somebody will argue that just because it's an affinity lodge, and for some reason that sparks conversation. Proposal 8. This is about lodge dues payable in advance, suspension of a lodge. So look up at the screen. Wanting a big sentence taken out. So here's how it reads. Dues shall be payable in advance and shall be delinquent if not paid by January 1 of each year. If same are not paid by the date of annual communication December thereafter, the member shall be suspended on that date effective December 1. Now they're taking all of the rest out, right? So you actually should take after the word thereafter. I don't know why that got missed. Oh, December thereafter. So they're taking out except in the case of the members dual plural. You know, I'm kind of okay with that. Because I think if you're members of multiple lodges, you need to keep yourself squared up in all of them. You asked to jump in all those. You need to keep it together. That's just me. And I know that in a lot of appendant bodies, we should do a better job, at least in Kansas, to be members of these other organizations, with the exception of maybe a cool one. You have to be a Master Mason. So, and I'll just tell you, I know there are shrine centers that the guys are current at the shrine. But since the shrine center started, when you come into at least our shrine center, when you come into a shrine meeting, you got to show both cards. Mm-hmm. We found out there was a lot of nonsense going on. So surely our guys forgot, but if you're doing that intentionally, you're wrong. So I think if you're all part of those, you need to square up or start demitting them from others if it's too much for you, right? So that's presented by Past Master Sunflower Lodge, number 86, Ron Bowen. Those are I don't know that'll probably get a little bit of a topic. Item 2 is going to be cray. If it doesn't get pulled right before Grand Lodge.
I just, again, with my hesitation on the political overtones of that subject, I would be a little bit surprised if it doesn't. But if it doesn't get pulled, I am looking forward to a very lively debate.
Yeah. And you know, there's a part of me, most worshipful Doug, if you even think you're going to pull that, don't pull it till the day of Grand Lodge. Don't let people start not showing up. I know you wanted a record attendance this year. If you're a voting member, you better take your butt to Grand Lodge. So, because, tell me what you think of this in the comment, and because I'm sure I'm going to get some hate mail, join the club. This is a proposal that I've been kicking around, submitting for a bylaw. I think as a past master, as a voting delegate, it is my duty, it's my obligation to go and vote at Grand Lodge, make my vote known. I believe everybody's entitled to vote in the world. They should do that. I mean, inside or outside of Masonry, it's your responsibility. I don't care who you vote for, you just got to vote, right? Mm-hmm. Here's a proposal I've been kicking around. If you don't show up at Grand Lodge at least once every 3 years, in a trailing 3 years, you lose your voting status as a past master. But you can get one caveat of, I need this in my cable toy. So you can actually go up to 6. You get one time. Now here's what about, I can't always make Grand Lodge because they don't do it on a Saturday. Brian and I work on a Friday. Well, you're not voting anyway, so what do you care about? So if that's your flawed argument, so I take being able to vote at Grand Lodge and making my vote known seriously. And now I can probably hear most worshipful Tracy Bloom saying, Byrd, shut your mouth. How are we going to track it? I don't know. It's not my problem. I'm just putting that up. So, but I, in all seriousness, I think that if you're a voting member, voting delegate in Kansas, and you don't take that seriously, it doesn't matter anyway. If you're not showing up to Grand Lodge, why do you care? Because you're not using your vote anyway. It's wasted. So, I'm not saying every year, but once every 3 years, that's this will be my first Grand Lodge I'm going to miss this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you'll lose your voting rights.
That's not once every 3 years. That's why I would write it that way. Very self.
It was every year until he realized he was going to miss this year.
That is true, with the exception of you will be on a beach somewhere. So there's that. So I think that's all we have. All jokes aside, go to your Grand Lodge session. It's don't think of it as boring. You get to go and see a lot more brothers. That's what this fraternity is all about. But go and make your vote. No, even if you're not a voting member, go there and see what it's all about, and make sure you see how your lodge officers are voting too. So thanks for joining the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast. Cheers.